So yeah, how's Fantasia? You know, I know you guys have been there a few times now. What's it like to be back?
It's so good. It's wonderful here. Everyone is just on the same playing field, and the audience is wonderful. Mitch and Fantasia's staff are great, and the films are great. It's kind of even, I didn't think we could trump how it felt being here the first time with the debut dig, and this is even more fun.
Cool. And I guess, you know, after, you know, both the DPU Dig and Hellbender were so really, you know, very well received by everybody, critics and fans alike, did that put more pressure on you for Where the Devil Roams?
I feel like we definitely did feel like, oh my god, third horror. I feel like, is third time a charm, or is third time like dangerous? And but I feel like we kind of use that fear as a sort of excitement. We were like, you know what, we got to try something new, and if people don't like it, oh well, we tried. But if people do, that's great. And yeah.
Hellbender had such a beautiful run.
Mm.
We all knew you kind of can't match that, and so it was definitely important to us to just do something completely different. Not like let's make it hard. It was just like, let's do something we really want to do, this completely different, and that's what we did. And we all really loved making this movie. This movie almost like we always were saying as we were making it, it's so fun. We're just trying to keep up with it. It was a beautiful experience.
And I guess it's also one of the bigger casts of characters. You know, I think I'm quite used to seeing it sort of just like, you know, three, maybe six characters on the screen. This time there's a whole carnival of people and, you know, victims who are met along the road. How was that experience working in this, you know, expanded world for once?
It was cool. I mean, because it was a lot of people we knew. Well, basically everyone we kind of know and love, family or friends. But it's strange because on the day we would shoot them, it would still feel very intimate. So in the end, seeing all of them together, it was kind of fantastic. Like, oh my gosh, there are almost 80 people in this film, and yet making the film still felt like it's the same DNA as our other films. Each day of shooting was just small and intimate. So it felt the same even though it's bigger.
And people want to be included in our filmmaking, and we are a family, so they can ask. Like the person who opens up our film wrote on Instagram, was like, hey, I love you guys. I'd be honored to be in one of your films sometime. And so if you ever need somebody who doesn't have any legs, let me know. And we wrote him back, and we said, oh, it'd be an honor to work with you. And we just started talking to him, and we realized as we were making this movie, you know what this movie needs is that classic intro. Like, and we asked him, would you do our intro? And he said yes. And he's just this wonderful man who pulled off, I think, a beautiful, wonderful scene. And it works perfectly with our family and what we're doing. And I think that's the way it works.
And none of you were around during the Depression era. You know, when you decided that this was going to be the time period for the film, how much research did you do into the costumes and the technology that there was around? And then with that information, how tied to it did you feel? Did you feel that we've got to do this perfectly, or was there some wiggle room to interpret it in your own way?
There was definitely wiggle room. I mean, we liked looking at pictures of the Depression era, and but we didn't go too far. We wanted this to be our version of the Depression, like Rocky, the tattooed woman, peekaboo woman. You know, she has some kind of modern tattoos, and the terror, booth guy. It looked very modern in a way, but kind of didn't matter to us because in a sense we wanted it to represent the universality of the carnival and the people who run the carnivals, the carny nature that will never die. And so we didn't let ourselves get too hung up, particularly, and with the wardrobe as well. We just collected a lot of stuff that we thought we could piece together, but we weren't going to blow our budget on it. We were going to just make it ours.
Yeah, and I think also with our music too was kind of a way of almost adding our own personal modern twist to the 1930s story. We have a band together, and we wanted to stay true to our storytelling as a band as well. So using our modern music in it was one of the ways of doing that.
And the horror circuit is kind of the modern carny, and I think the horror crowd doesn't mind seeing modern tattoos or little elements here or rock and roll through it, because I think the horror crowd knows that they are in the carny.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you should bring up the music. Obviously, it's Hellbender are doing the music for this, which also appeared on Hellbender. But to me, I felt that there is still a shift in style and tone. I was just wondering if you could discuss how you approach creating the music for this one, because although it feels very organic to the band, it does still fit in with this very different film.
Well, I think similar to the visuals of this film, we did want there to be a sense of like grunge and dirtiness. And so we did kind of approach it a little bit that way with the music. I think it has a bit more of an edge, wouldn't you say?
I think that we wanted it to be like heavier and dirtier, but we wanted to have a specific tone to it. Whereas Hellbender had lots of different genres in the music. It could be like, you could have a ballad or you could have an industrial grunge sound. This one, we wanted to have a sound. And I would call it kind of like heavy stoner rock. But I don't know what anyone else, they can call it whatever they want, but I think there's a sound, and we worked really hard at sticking with it. And I personally, this was my favorite soundtrack to make.
I guess going back to the visuals as well, I feel like all of your films have a very distinct visual style and look. What were the intentions behind the appearance of this film? Because I think it was, to me, it felt a little bit more muted and contrasting in terms of color palette.
It was cool. We did a lot. We've been working since the Deeper Dig with a wonderful man named Trey Lindsay, who does our special effects, and he's also an incredible artist. So whereas our sets were quite simple, he could plump them up by painting in a background, that would suggest the carnival. And so I think he had a lot to do with the look of this film, and also with the gradual stripping of color. It was a real it was kind of an event, thinking about the color and the tones of this film. I love, to me it looks dusty and dirty, and at the end it feels as if they're inside a talkie, black and white talkie. And so I know there was a lot of conversation about it, particularly because the colors looked so beautiful when we were making them. Like the hallway in the end of the film is actually this beautiful, downtrodden blue hall, and it was almost painful to take the color away from it, but we had to. And then Zelda really advocated for that.
Yeah, we had been watching, we had gone back and watched movies like Vampire and Nosferatu and Frankenstein, all these black and white movies. And, I was like, oh man, it's so beautiful. I wish we could make a black and white movie. And Zelda was like, we can do anything we want. It's our movie. And then ultimately she demanded that it go to black and white. And I love it. And Trey and I tried to keep it in color. We gave her the first pass. Like, what do you think of this? And she's like, I really like it now, but what happened to the whole black and white thing? And then when we really, I am in love with it.
Yeah, and I really like how there's like a wry humor that sort of permeates through it. I mean, whenever poor Seven, needs to get blindfolded so that he doesn't see it, it becomes this sort of running joke. How difficult was it to sort of like balance that delicateness between the viciousness of some of the actions on screen, but also still trying to keep it fun? Because it's not, I guess in a way it kind of has the potential to become something like Rob Zombie's Devil's Rejects in a way, but it's the humor kind of brings it back a little.
Well, that's the best thing we could ever hear. I think you have to have humor, and it's, one feeds off the other. When it's so horrible, you can't help but laugh sometimes. But we just had Fantasia. It was wonderful to see them finding humor in the blindfolds, or whenever Eve's character takes out the camera. You know what that means. And it's just those little things you hope that will snag in people's brains. And it was wonderful to see that some of them have.
Yeah, and also like this, when I had cancer, my nurse said to me, the people that survive are the ones that laugh. And from that point on, everything horrible became funny to me. And it's like one of the things that we didn't set out to be like, ha ha, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, because it's not really funny that he's getting a blindfold put on his face. But we all do laugh at those things because they're so darkly funny, you know?
And I can't, like, I'm trying to think of a way to ask you about your character, Lulu, without kind of spoiling what happens. But I mean, that, you know, that's got to be a bit strange for a child to be pretending to do.
Oh no, it was great. It was really fun. It was really good family bonding. No, that kind of stuff for me is really fun because it's very kind of theatrical, and we really get to kind of be like, change that angle. How do we make that work? Careful. So I think mostly I just have a lot of fun with that. And I had just come back from living in Alaska, and I was a hiking guide out there, and I told my parents I had to chop wood every day to start these fires, and they were like, idea. And so it was just really fun to kind of get playful like that. And it was such a fun shot to try to make and work in all these quirky little ways. It was so fun to kind of experiment and work around that.
Yeah, Lulu had to work hard on that because we needed shots, but we needed violence, and we don't have rubber axes.
Okay. That's big circle of trust in your household then. Yeah. And the film is next going to London. It's going to be at Fright Fest in the big IMAX screen. But in addition to that, I know, Toby, you're part of the New Blood initiative that they do every year, where they sort of find and nurture new voices. Are you looking forward to hearing the ideas that these people have and helping these new genre voices?
Very much so. I was so pleased that Giles asked me to do that. But you know what? It's funny. I feel like I'm going to learn as much as I give. I think we have a unique perspective in terms of how we make films. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. But just by the nature of hearing all these wonderful, talented pitches, I know I'm going to learn as much as they might. Probably more. I can't wait.
And as you know, Fright Fest, there's the main screen film, and there's like 70 other films playing at various points over the weekend. Why should people seek out this film? What are they going to get from this that maybe they haven't got from an Addams Family film before?
Oh, that's a good one.
Good one. Who wants to tackle that? I hope that I think they'll see something strange but beautiful. I think it's our most, I'm going to say brutal, because the words just go together. I think it's our most beautiful film in terms of the love that this family represents, but it's also our most brutal film in terms of gore and the violence. So I hope that they enjoy that contrast.
I'll add, I think we love to play with family themes, and I think in this one we play with the theme of, often it's, parents watching their children grow up, but this one is a child watching her parents grow up, and there's something beautiful but also scary and sad about that. So I think a lot of people can connect with that, and it's about this idea of wanting to hold on and not wanting to let go. And is that okay? Is that beautiful? Or is true love being able to let go?
And we wanted to bring a Grimm's fairy tale to life, and I think that I really believe we did, and it's fun. It's got a ton of super dark undertones that are all there. The roots go deep in this one, so it's just it's a nasty little fairy tale.